Good morning, I'm Kimberly Bouchard and I'm 27 years old. I'm an infrastructure electrician at BMA's Daunia Mine. I'd firstly like to start off by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I'm filming today, which is the Jarowaha and Gabal peoples, acknowledging elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the Waimak community and committee for your ongoing support of women in trades. Obviously, your support means the world to us, and programs like the mentoring program, there's just no way to put into words how much that actually supports us in our day-to-day roles and how it can help with our ongoing growth. So thank you very much. A little bit about me. My journey to electrician wasn't a linear one. I think it began early on when I used to watch the haul trucks with my dad growing up in Weipa, and he's always been in mining. So I always had a fascination with the industry. But realistically, it wasn't ever something that was mentioned to me through school or certainly after school. Obviously, the options were uni or uni. So it wasn't until about the end of year 12, my mum actually passionately pursued a career as a train driver and was successful after many years to get a traineeship when I was in about year 12. So watching her passionately pursue that was something that I think put it all into place, and it made me think, okay, yep, I can do this. If she can do this, then I can do this. So from there I started applying for any and every traineeship, apprenticeship, entry-level role. If it was something that I could even remotely qualify for, I was there. It had me traveling up and down the East Coast. Thank you very much, Mum, for coming as my road trip buddy all those times. And having multiple interviews with the same person over and over again. It ultimately led me to having several interviews the same year that I got my apprenticeship with the same man at Horizon. And we often joked that if he didn't just give me a job, that I would just keep turning up. So the only way he could get rid of me was to actually employ me. So I had applied for a diesel fitting apprenticeship that year and in Mackay, and he rang me and said, look, I can't give you that, but would you be an electrician and would you move to Toowoomba? Obviously at this point it had been about 5 or 6 years in the making, so I jumped at the opportunity and said, absolutely, I'll go wherever you want me to go and I'll do whatever you want me to do. So I said yes, went inside, Googled where Toowoomba was, because at this point I'd never been that far south. Anyway, packed all of my belongings into the back of my Pulsar and moved about 2 weeks later in with a lovely couple off the internet, Rose and Phil, and moved down to Toowoomba, away from my friends and my family, to pursue what now has been the best thing that I've ever done. I think as far as challenges go, I've had all of the typical mental challenges, unfortunately, that I think women in industry face. I don't think there's been many times where physically I've struggled at work, but mentally, obviously, it's been an uphill battle, and a lot of resilience has been created off the back of that. Hopefully one day that won't be the case, but unfortunately, we just need to keep showing up for now, and we just need to keep breaking down those barriers and proving that we do belong in these circles, and that we're capable and that we can move in these spaces just as well as anyone can. I think as far as a professional challenge that was overcome, we were originally signed up to online training when we started our apprenticeships, and through some discussion after an audit with the Queensland government, we were able to basically go into bat for ourselves and say, look, this isn't our training plan, which was a win for us electricians who were told we would never complete where we were, which obviously for me, someone who had been trying for 6 years to get into the trade, that was a big disappointment to be told that you might potentially not finish by no fault of your own. From there, we, like I say, took up the fight, and we were able to win the right to go to TAFE. And from there, our cohort and cohorts in other depots were also allowed to go to TAFE, which was a fantastic achievement. Obviously, it didn't come without the stereotypical why don't you just do what you're told, why are you making so much noise about things, but I'm really proud of what we achieved, and I'm proud that we stuck to our guns, because I couldn't imagine having gone the 4 years and not be able to finish because of something that wasn't in our control. So I'm proud of us for standing up for ourselves, even if that meant that we had a little bit of pushback from people on the floor. Throughout my trade, and certainly after my apprenticeship finished, I've really enjoyed being a part of discussions with industry leaders surrounding how we can potentially encourage the next generation of women to join the ranks, but also aid in retention in the women that we already have in industry, which I think is a really important part. I think it's fantastic to have the initiatives to bring people in, but unfortunately, if we're not aiding in the retention, then what are we really achieving? So it's such a cool thing to be a part of, moving in circles such as NAWIC, YMARC, SALT. Obviously, these are all the acronyms, but Women Building Australia, having conversations with Tegan at the BCW, being interviewed by Women Building Australia, Bizline, companies that are coming forward to be a part of the transition and a part of the promotion of women in trades, which is such an important thing to be a part of. Mental health advocacy is also something that I'm quite passionate about. It's always been something that's been quite a big part of our family, and each year we go and take part in a mental health walk, which is 42 kilometres up in North Queensland. We walk for someone quite near and dear to our heart, but it also has us walking with 200 other people that walk for their own reasons. And even just that, it's breaking down a stigma, it's being a part of larger conversations, and it's helping other people through. And I think that's such an important thing to be a part of, both as a woman in business, helping each other through, but it's also, we're moving in circles now that we weren't previously. And women aren't the only people that work where we work. So I think being able to be a part of those conversations, even about men's mental health, is such an important place to be. And it makes us a mediator. It makes us a place of reference. And I think it's a really cool spot for me to be. I am someone who people feel comfortable coming and speaking to if they do have a problem. And I am now, as a result, a part of the discussions on how we aid retention, how we help our training efforts with our apprenticeships, all those sorts of conversations, which I didn't previously think I would ever be a part of, but just by showing up and moving in these spaces and being open and honest about my experiences and willing to listen to other people's, has made it a really safe spot, and it's ultimately led to me being, like I say, a part of these discussions moving forward, which is really exciting. I think what makes me a good leader is the same thing that makes me a good person in general. I think my honesty, I think me being able to show up and be a part of those tough conversations, my empatheticness towards others, my mediation skills. The list is endless as far as qualities that I think make a good leader. But I also think that leadership isn't leading from the front. I think we're, as women, quite good at downplaying our qualities, and I think we definitely are leaders, whether we see it or not. We are paving the way for the next generation, and that is leadership. Being a part of those conversations and those discussions and trying to be the building blocks for something better for the next cohort is leadership. I don't think there's any doubt about that any woman that's in industry right now is a leader. We are industry leaders. I want to continue to help break the stigma around women in trades, around mental health. I want to be a part of change. I think there are lots of things for us to grow and develop on, particularly in the training space, and that is something that I would like to pursue as I move further into my career. I am studying for that possibility, although I'd like to stay on the floor for quite a few more years yet. I have so much more to learn about the rope shovel, and I won't let it beat me, so I've got to really dig deep and learn a little bit more where I am just yet. But the training space is definitely something I'd like to pursue, particularly in apprentice coordination. I'd like to really drive some change in those training spaces. And I don't know if that's just from the experiences I had as an apprentice, but I really just do think making things, even like the YMARC mentoring program, more accessible is something that truly would help aid retention and drive some development in women in the trade spaces. which is an exciting place to be, and can only go from strength to strength. Anyway, I've probably waffled on way too long. So thank you very much for your time and consideration. And yeah, thank you for creating these spaces for us to be a part of. And I'm looking forward to continuing my growth with the Y Mark Mentoring Program.